Mhm.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Black Voices. My name is Talia Cotton, and I have here with me Miss Marie Sizzle. Did I say that right?
It's E. Marie Sissle. You do say
E. Marie
E.
Sizzle.
Yeah, you do say the E. Uh-huh.
Say that E. That E matters. Miss
Yes.
E.
Oh,
Miss E. Marie Sizzle. Thank you so much for joining us today. Black Voices is a podcast that's talking with Black people, to Black people in the world. And so Ms. Sizzle is here to answer some questions and to just engage in an intimate conversation with me and you.
mhm.
For the viewers who've never heard of you, who is E. Marie Sizzle and what have you accomplished?
Well, first I want to say thank you for allowing me to be on Black Voices. This is exciting. So when I first heard of it, I thought it was a wonderful idea. So I just want to say thank you first. But who am I? I think we are always evolving. But E. Marie Sissel, I am a stage director, a producer, mother of five, a wife, writer. I am an educator. But I guess what I'm really excited about is for the last 20 years, I've dedicated my life to the stage and living a life full of creativity. I've always loved music, and eventually I moved over to theater when I just needed a college credit and then fell in love with theater. And then, since I've been back in Tallahassee, I've started 5 arts organizations and all here in the Tallahassee community and Midtown, Frenchtown, and now we're on the South Side. And that's who I am, just forever loving creative ideas and implementing them. Now when I moved back to Tallahassee, they were doing kind of this placemaking, and I saw under the bridge when you are headed from downtown to the south side, on this wall it said SOMO, and then I found that it stood for South Monroe, and I was like, oh, I know what they're doing. They're doing a sense of place. They're branding the area, and I said, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, when I first started my theater company here, we were actually in Midtown, and I figured that, we would pull from both sides of town, all areas. But then when I saw that we needed more Black voices, I said, where are the majority of Black voices? So SOMO, South Monroe Playhouse, we're SOMO Playhouse, but then SOMO Arts is our building. I can actually get into that. But SOMO Arts is kind of home. That's what it is. It's a haven and it's a place for creativity. We're moving into a new 4,000 square foot building right on the south side of Tallahassee. And it's going to have theater arts, culinary arts, fine arts, animation, and music. So we are planning for it to be home to a lot of people.
What is the purpose of Somo Arts?
Well, the purpose of Soma Arts really is just to be a space for creative people, like you. You are a graphic designer. You are a person who does podcasts. You are an influencer. So if you wanted to have guests or people with a live audience, there's a place where you can go to hear your voice, to hear other people's voices. We're a space for people to develop like their creativity. We want programs to outlive us. So it's not just me creating my work and putting my work out. I want Somo Arts to be here in 100 years. And I want it to go on and on and on to continue telling those stories.
Why do you think, or why is Black literature, plays, and theater important?
It exposes our lives, our desires, our pains, our joys, and all of us. It speaks to who we are. It's in our music and our literature, our words, and in our entertainment. It may not all be pretty, but it is who we are. So it's important because it tells our stories. I mean, even a rose has thorns, but we can still tell our stories through our own lenses, because if we don't tell our stories, it can be written for us. And history has not always been kind to or accurate about our story. So it's important because it needs to be accurate. It needs to be truthful. And who better to tell our stories than us? I can speak to how it influenced me, and then it can, I guess, move into that. So I grew up watching a lot of musicals. I love musicals, and I love musicals on TV, but it didn't always look like me. They started out in black and white, and then they started to move. But when the first time I saw a black musical, and I believe my first one, I'm gonna say The Wiz, but I think I saw some other things before that. It literally awakened my soul. It just opened something up in me that never closed. So, because no one can sing like us, no one can move like us or vocalize our pain like us. I mean, seeing our stories on screen and stage means that we are valued, and that our lives, our history, and our future even matters because we tell those stories. Representation matters because when I see myself on stage, I can envision more for my life.
Yes. When I just as you said, when I see a black woman that looks like me on TV, I think, okay, I can do what she's doing. I can be her. I can be the next Viola. I can be, the next Regina King. I could be the next Beyonce. When you hear the term Black voices, what does that mean to you?
When I hear the term Black voices, and I know this may be a little bit strange, but I think of kind of like an exposed nerve. It's a kind of exposed to the elements. Like anyone's voices can be pretty, it can need some work, it can still be someone's voice. So Black voices are just stories of those exposed nerves. And like, I don't know if that makes 100% sense, but like our voices are just the true reality of who we are. So, and it should be exposed. So like if you see us angry, if you see us happy and joyful or frustrated, we're in the streets protesting this and doing that, we are making our voices heard. And honestly, not caring if you agree. We are just making sure that you hear us.
It's very important for Black people to see Black people being Black people.
Right.
And I know, and I'm
good, bad, ugly, whatever that
yes.
is, it's truth. We don't have to hide the truth from the world. There are some things about us that are just truly beautiful, and some things that are not so beautiful. So when we use our voices, we just need to speak truth, whatever that is.
And we can take ownership of that pain or that beauty or that controversy or that something that we overcame. But when our voices are being filtered through others, in my opinion, it kind of deadens and dilutes the realness of the event or the feeling or the emotion. Do you think that Black voices are suppressed in America? Why or why not?
I think that there's a strong agenda to suppress the voices of Black people and Black voters. And that's why people like your podcast or things like your podcast are so important, because our literature and our music and our art, it just makes it so important because we no longer have to ask permission to speak. But I know that there's an agenda to suppress us. And what's exciting is because there are so many different places that we can be heard. We can be heard through podcasts like this. We can be heard on the radio, on television. And if they don't want to put us on television, we can open up our own channels. We can be on YouTube. We can be on Instagram, on Twitter. And there's so many different places that we can be heard by our people and by other people. But I definitely do believe that there's an agenda to silence us, not only us, but other people of color. I do believe that.
How do you think that Black voices can be amplified?
Well, kind of what I just mentioned. You keep producing. You keep writing. You know, when people say some things that aren't true and they don't get the story right, then you keep filming, keep protesting. Never stop speaking. And if they can't hear you, then speak louder. You know that we can always use the microphones that, you know, have been given to us, and then if we don't have a microphone, we build a microphone. If we don't have this, we have everything. We are capable of everything. So if we can't, like I said, I believe that we are truly true. I didn't say this, but I truly believe that we are talented people, and we can make our own avenues to amplify our own voice.
Yes. And like you said, I think for me, I had, especially with all the things that's been happening during the pandemic, during just the revolutionary things happening with African Americans, especially after the death of George Floyd. I, as a Black person, had to ask myself, what am I going to do to amplify my voice? I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of opinions. And during that time, I thought, okay, do I need to get out and protest? And for some people, that's not an option. So, but I said, how can I make sure that my thoughts, my voice is heard, not only for me, but for the generation here and the generation to come. And I think things like you said, like the podcast about helps. I also think engaging with young people, because the thing about, I'm 39, and so I was born in the 80s.
You are the young people.
I don't know. Sometimes, nah. Sometimes. But what I find interesting is that you know, the young people, as in the teenagers, the 20-year-olds, so let me put this in perspective. My mother integrated a school.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's not that long ago.
Not too long ago. That's just technically a generation ago for me. My grandmother's grandmother was a slave.
Right. Right.
So I'm not that far from, you know, slavery. I'm not that far from segregation. And so now that we're in this place, a lot of our this new generation, they have a lot to say, and sometimes they don't know how to say it. And sometimes I think we, as, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds, we have the vocabulary to express the pain and the sorrow and the hardships and the joy and the love that it is to be a Black person in America. And I think it's very important for me. How I amplify my voice is by showing them the words to say and the actions that they can take. Because like I said, some people can't protest. Some people won't protest, and that's fine. But what are you willing to do to affect change in the community? That could be voting. That could be registering people to vote. That could be a podcast. That could be writing your senator. That could be standing up for just your cousin down the street. You know, it could be something. And so I think for me, it's important to affect change and to amplify Black voices by amplifying and speaking to this generation. That's kind of my goal.
And you made me think of something also. There's a gift in everybody. So by you operating in your gift is also a way for you to amplify your voice and the voice of others. Like you said, some people can't do certain things. Some people don't know where to find fresh fruit. But if you have a gift of, you know, gardening and things like that, and this lady may be speaking to you about, I need fresh fruit, I need this, and then you say, okay, well, I'm going to build a garden. I'm going to talk to my neighbors here saying this lady needs a garden, so let's come together and let's do that. I'm amplifying your voice through me to the rest of the community, and someone else has a need and they come to the garden. We can actually operate in our gift, not only amplifying our voice of what's needed, but someone else's voice to speak for the voiceless, to work for the voiceless. So
how do you use your Black voice?
hopefully to uplift, to bring joy. For the last week, I've been talking to my students, and I said, you must bring joy. When you walk into a room, if someone does not greet you with joy, then you might, or they're joyful to see you. Then let's talk about why aren't we bringing joy to some people? Some people we have to we have to help them along to find their joy. I do get that, because sometimes I'm not always joyful, but using my Black voice to just uplift, to bring joy, to teach, comfort, sometimes just to entertain, like when we were talking earlier about the comedy show that you watch. That right there brings joy, and it's just there for entertainment. It doesn't have to always just make sense, but it still does something to you to make your day a little bit brighter. So using my voice just to make people's lives better is important to me. Yes, my company did a partnership with TCC, and we produced Hands Up, which was actually about a protest, and it was about him, and it was about Hands Up, and it was different perspectives. It was 7 different monologues and different perspectives from people who were affected by the killing. So we just finished that, and we streamed it live. It was called Hands Up. And then now we're actually getting ready to move into our new space. Like I said, working on being flexible. We're working on our funding. And we do teach classes now virtually at a local middle school here. And we are getting ready to have musical theater dance classes and adult improv classes. We're working out of someone else's space until ours is ready, but we figured that now might be the time to kind of venture out and do some social distance theater. But now I'm looking for something to actually be a haven for places for adults to go, for there to have their creativity come out. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people who have a regular 9 to 5, and they say, I've always wanted to try acting. I've always wanted to do this and do that. And so I want to now create classes for those people who get off at the state and look forward to going to go do an improv class. Yeah, not that the state makes you sad, but you know what I mean.
Know what I find interesting, as you were saying that, please let me know.
Okay.
What's funny is I am in my normal everyday life, I'm very gregarious. I just project and all those things. I have all this vigor, and I was like, I can see myself doing a little improv. That seems like a great stress reliever.
Yeah, it is, and you have fun. Sometimes when you leave improv classes, you laugh so much you forget about the time, and then it, like I said, to bring joy, and and you build so many good relationships in classes like that. And building relationships is what's important in our community as well. We've become so isolated in our homes sometimes, and that, we may not know exactly what's going on in our neighbor's home, but when we build those relationships, you're not so intimidated to call me and say, hey, can I really borrow a cup of sugar? Man, you can have that cup of sugar, or whatever you need, because we've built up that relationship. We can help each other. We don't need the government to provide, I mean, we don't mind the $2,000 per person, but we don't need the government to take care of our household and our community, because we are helping each other. And that comes from relationships.
Yeah. And so where can the public find you? Websites, email, your social handles?
Yeah, we're on all of them. Our Somo Arts is somoarts.org. And you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. All of it is Somo Arts. You can find us on Twitter. If you go to Facebook, it says Somo Arts Tally. But then you can find out that we have, like I said, culinary arts. We have theater arts. Somo Playhouse is our theater company, but we also offer animation. And that's one thing, especially in the Black community, that there are not a lot of Black animators. And my husband is an animator and graphic designer like you. And one of the things he wants to do is teach more of young people how to draw and how to animate. And he wants to make his institute completely free. He wants to make it completely free, because he's had people come up to him and say, my kid likes to draw, what should they do? And he needs to provide classes and training for them. So that's our focus. Now that we've decided that Tallahassee is going to be our home, we're not going anywhere. There's much that we want to give to Tallahassee to uplift the community. And we have gifts that we want to share.
This was a great conversation. This is absolutely a great conversation.
I'm going to talk too much. I always talk too much.
No, that's what I wanted you to do. I wanted you to talk. One, because my students hear me all the time. And two, I wanted to just get a perspective from someone in our community who is doing great things for African American people, who are basically using their voices. And I thank you so much. Please join us again next week. We will have another guest. And with that, have a great day.